So, hey, yeah, I called it 2 months ago. My ego needs to be inflated. I need your praise. Give it to me. Joking. But even 2 months ago, little old me published the exact rationale the Supreme Court would use to toss the case brought to them in relation to the Colorado Supreme Court disqualifying Trump from the primary ballot. The chaos and confusion it would cause if the 14th allowed individual states to define who would appear on a federal ballot without congressional discretion would be truly perplexing and lead to crises left and right all over the place throughout November and into January. As much as I despise Trump and his little fascist gremlins, let alone his larger allies and his handlers, the idea that we were going to get out of a potential Trump-Biden rematch via legalese and roundabout court defeats is honestly pretty hilarious and naive at the same time, which is more or less the point of this entire video. Liberal naivety, I suppose, if you want to put a thesis statement on it. As I said in my post, fascists will happily play along with what they view as the game of democratic monopoly until they get pissed enough or impeded enough by institutions and then flip the board over. In short, while I would love for a decisive, clear, easy way out of this shit show that we're in, it's never that easy and never will be. Rather than what most seem to be talking about in the wake of this decision, I believe the fundamental issue is that, for all of their faults, the Democratic Party still believes in the concept of a rules-based liberal democracy. I do too, for that matter, but the reality is that the other major party in the US does not. Full stop. I don't care about one random House representative from the middle of nowhere in Kansas saying something positive. The party itself does not. While I have been happy to see Biden take the gloves off a bit, the issue is that American liberals are still entirely under the delusion that Trump or the current Republican Party is interested in either governing or, to be clear, and frankly, to put a nice point on it, losing. Fundamentally, Trump and the Republicans cannot lose at this point. If they do, it will be the death of their careers and their ideological momentum to a certain degree, but to a significant one. In reality, most Americans, even those that think otherwise, are lazy and creatures of comfort. I know you're probably having a little bit of a knee-jerk here, but guess what? I am too. We all want a nice, secure job with a comfortable and nice home or apartment, whatever sense of home is right for you. That's actually normal and perfectly human and is shared by, well, every human on the face of this earth. But the problem is in the idea that these comfortable elements of our lives aren't things we'll willingly give up under the influence of propaganda, which most Republicans seem to think they would be willing to do to win some sort of illusionary war against wokeism or whatever nonsense they're saying today. It's not really taught anymore, and frankly, it wasn't really taught before 2024 anyway, but the idea that the Holocaust, quote-unquote, can't happen here is so outrageously comedic, it's absurd. Look, the Nazis didn't get to the point of their final solution, and the Holocaust as we know it in popular imagination, from just a populace of gleefully ignorant Germans. Most were perfectly aware of widespread and massive anti-Semitic propaganda, if not agreed with it. It wasn't like the Nazis' plans for the, quote, annihilation of the Jewish race, unquote, were hidden or anything of the sort. The goal of Fox, Newsmax, online morons on YouTube, etc., is to push the idea that democracy is the issue, and that if Trump loses, it's actually just a, quote-unquote, deep state that's preventing him from winning. Sound like, I don't know, some minority 1930s, 40s German, anyway. Look, there's always a new boogeyman for these people, right? These people, the deep state, are out to destroy America. Those trans people are coming for your kids. Those immigrants are going to swarm the country and invade America, right? They're going to take over. We need another boogeyman. Oh, I don't know. Resurrect some anti-Semitic conspiracies. I don't know. Insert here. Oh, wait, they already did that with the deep state. My bad. I'm looking through my list here. I'm sure they have a few new ones in the pipeline as we speak. Anyway, while there are a few voices in the mainstream media and elsewhere calling Trump and his supporters out for what they are, literal fascists, with no degree of difference between them and Mussolini, and what they really want, even if these supporters don't know it consciously, it's nowhere near what is needed as we stare headlong at the potential death of the United States as we know it in November. No, I'm not being hyperbolic by any stretch of the imagination. To illustrate this, let me lay out the game plan of the fascists in the US. By the way, all of this and everything I'm about to say is literally on public websites. First page, if not first result, of Google searches. It's displayed brazenly for you to peruse. It's not some conspiracy I'm making up. A small little channel here is spewing. Here, go ahead, look, it's right here. Take a peek, it's totally in the open. No weird off-brand websites, hidden URLs, or dark web BS or anything. It's right there. The reality is that, while liberals are banking on institutional resolutions to the threat Trump and his ilk present, the fascists are gleefully eating up the mainstream media's acquiescence to the possibility of a second Trump and final Trump term. Speaking of which, let's look at the New York Times. Amazing headline reporting, guys. 10 out of 10. Super liberal bastion over here. Speaking of institutions, need I remind you that the House is controlled by the Republicans and a rather Christian nationalist Speaker of the House? I can't express how dangerous this situation is. To drive the point home, it's worthwhile remembering the outright, quote-unquote, outrage and blame speeches that were given on both the House and Senate floors immediately after security secured the Capitol. Most Republicans of note gave impassioned speeches, blaming the insurrection on Trump and his supporters. Then they acquitted him from impeachment! The same people that laid direct blame for a blatant attempt on their lives and an insurrection against the United States of America gave that same man a pass. Also remember to like and subscribe and mention how sweaty I look in the comments. Thanks, bye. The fundamental reality, as I outlined in my blog post from early January this year, is that there are really only two options out of this shit show. Mass voting for Biden and down ballot Democratic tickets to the degree it's indisputable who the winner is regardless of the whinging of the fascists. And two, ensure that your friends and family, and broadly your community, are actually prepared for domestic unrest in case of the worst attempts at thwarting the election occur, successfully or not. The idea that grocery stores will have stocked shelves beyond a few days of legitimate domestic supply chain disruption is fantasy at best, delusion at worst. I am not some psycho prepper or the like, but the possibility of Trump losing his mind and screaming at his supporters to disrupt day-to-day life as some sort of patriotic resistance is a very real possibility. If you don't believe me, I don't know why you don't believe me, look at January 6th. Seriously, that was just fake news on social media that caused that. The final, and I suspect is the truly critical issue with American liberals, and more or less returning to the thesis of this video, is that they sincerely believe that the opposite party, the Republicans in this case, are still somehow committed to the same standards of democracy they hold themselves to. With the results of our vaunted Super Tuesday, whatever that really means in 2024 for presidential elections, now in, we know for a fact that Trump and Biden are going to have their rematch. Surprise, shocker, I know. I can't say it enough. But American liberals, centrists, leftists, or even just exhausted and annoyed quote-unquote moderates of whatever stripe need to be fully engaged and ready to bat down whatever nonsense comes our way from here till November. Well, really, until January 7th, 2025. The reality is that when a family member, friend, or coworker spouts about nonsense they have, let's be brutally honest here, jack shit of qualifications to talk about, it's imperative you counter them. The time for civility and taking the high ground passed 4 years ago when they attempted a literal coup against our country for the sake of their egos. You can be correct, but assertive. Lies and misinformation only exist because of the inability or fear of those that know better to correct them. Of course, don't make yourself into a right-wing meme of freaking out in public. That's not worth the time nor energy, and it just gives them ammunition, and it's silly. But when it comes to people that you can help in changing their minds, go for it. Elections are more frequently than not decided by hundreds, if not handfuls of voters in key counties across the US. Every vote does matter, even if it's a vote that isn't cast for Trump or Republicans. Fun fact, Republicans know this very well. That's why they work so damn hard 24/7 to drum up hysteria around dead voters or voting fraud, etc. If you depress turnout, that's as good as 2 votes for your side. Anyway, all this is to say, especially to the supposed bitter and depressed leftist screaming about the Israel-Hamas war, welcome to real life, babe. Sometimes making electoral decisions for a country of nearly 350 million people requires some basic compromises on your part to ensure your own country doesn't go to shit and your supposed friends and allies in minority groups aren't brutalized or literally murdered by a fascist government. While I know this isn't the most optimistic or cheery video I've done, sadly the truth kind of sucks sometimes. And the hard and bitter fact of the matter is that while leftists and liberals nitpick tensions or minutia over the Israel-Hamas war, or why Biden is too old, or whatever other nonsense story is on the stove for the day, the fascists like Bannon, the ADF, those behind Project 2025, all of these people are gleefully encouraging the infighting because much like 2015 to 16, the more fractured the non-fascists are, the stronger the fascists are. While the historical reality is that Hitler was elected with a minority of votes as a result of the representative makeup of the Bundestag, it only took a fabricated terror attack and a propaganda campaign to have Hitler become the dictator we know him as today. Sound oddly familiar? Hopefully it should. Lest we forget, Russian disinformation campaigns are alive and very well, just like 2015 to 2016. But as I teased, we'll also get there this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing you on that video. Anyway, all that is to say, stay safe. I'm excited to bring you a new and better edited video this weekend as promised on Saturday. I hope you enjoy. In the meantime, I'm also updating a blog post following up my last one from January that I screen capped here with further analysis and details from the Supreme Court's decision that should be ready on Friday or tomorrow, depending on where you are in the world. Remember to like and subscribe. Chat soon. And yeah, by the way, keep an eye out for original OSINT work on some not great people. I can't promise it'll pan out depending on the security involved, but we'll see. Anyway, chat soon. Bye.